Okay, well, I'm showing noon on my clock, so I think we will get started because I know we have good stuff to cover and good stuff to talk about this morning. So hi, everybody. I am Sarah Ivy, and I am the current education chair for the Oklahoma Recycling Association. And I just wanted, before we start with Josh's presentation, to take a few minutes and share a couple of things. The first is that we are always looking for more people who want to participate. So if you're interested in joining either the Okra Glass Working Group, or if you're interested in doing lunch and learns like this and have some great ideas for us, we'd love for you to join the education committee. So you can do that by sending your contact information to info@recycleok.org, and we will put you in the place where you would like to be. So please do that if you're interested. And also, we want to take a second to thank the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. They have been supporting Okra's work, and they really like us doing things like these lunch and learns. So we want to say thank you to DEQ for your support of this opportunity. And we are very fortunate today to have an expert on glass with us from our own region who does some glass work in Oklahoma. So for those of you that were at our last lunch and learn, you may remember we had Ashley with the Pennsylvania Resources Council. And so while she was able to provide some really great information, we were looking to add some information closer to home and hoping that we could spur some discussion on how we can really increase glass recycling here in Oklahoma. And so for those of you who may or may not know Chris Knight, he's going to head up our glass working group. And so I know this is an area of interest for him and Josh. So without further ado, I want to introduce Josh Boyer, who is with Ripple Glass. And Josh will be doing our presentation this morning. And then we're going to open it up and leave lots of time for questions. I know there may be things you've been asking about, how can we do this in our own community, or what are those hindrances you may have had come up, and we want to talk about as many of those today as we can and really try to make glass recycling come to fruition for a lot of communities. So I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can let Josh share his. So
yes, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, let me do that for you, Josh.
Oh, yep.
Okay. All right, Josh, should be here now.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my purple screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you, Sarah, for having me on. This is exciting, and like she said, I'll just reiterate what Sarah's talking about. I've noticed in the last lunch and learn that and some of the other ones that we've done, there's a lot of presentation, but not a lot of room for questions, or people don't really want to ask questions in the beginning, but there is a lot of specific issues or obstacles, I'd rather say, for each individual community. And I'd like to talk about those today. So I'll get through this presentation moderately quick, but I want to have a lot of discussion, questions, and really just ideas thrown out there about your own community for glass recycling. So again, thank you for having me on, and we'll get started. And I did want to start last time. We had some folks out from Pennsylvania on here, and they have a great program right now, but we want to obviously focus in on this Midwest region and Oklahoma. So try to provide something that can actually get started here in Oklahoma. And luckily we're right in your backyard. So hopefully we can make something work. Again, I am Josh. I'm with Ripple Glass. I'm the regional manager here, and we'll get started. Okay, so how much glass does Oklahoma produce? And this is actually a pretty common question I get from a lot of folks. They don't really realize how much glass an individual goes through on a yearly basis. So just to put in perspective, as you can see here, a town of 12,000 on average could recycle about 80 tons of glass a year. And that's a pretty small town. And then if you see Oklahoma City, which has a population over 500,000, they could recycle a little over 4,000 tons of glass in a year. And I do want to put this in perspective. This is only a 20% diversion rate here. So our goal is to have about a 20% diversion rate. Now, some communities do better than others, but this is only maxed out at 20%. So there's obviously a lot more potential for glass recycling. Now, the point of all this is there is a lot of savings that can happen with glass recycling. Landfill tipping fees have been going up in a lot of communities, and I know it's different from region to region, but with a lot of recycling centers having to haul glass to the landfill, that's starting to cost folks a lot of money. So if you can save a small town of around 12,000 or even a big town of over 500,000, you can save 80 tons of glass going from the landfill. That's a lot of money saved and still in your pocket for other needs. So just wanted folks to keep that in mind. So why recycle glass? I know some of you have heard this before, but I'll go over a lot of the benefits with these. It saves raw materials. Again, 1 ton of glass creates 1 ton of recycled material. There is no waste in it. A whole bottle turns into another whole bottle, which is honestly the only recyclable, especially for containers and bottles that can do that. So pretty nice. It lessens the demand for energy. It cuts carbon dioxide emissions, no processing of byproducts, and obviously it creates jobs. So there's a lot of benefits with recycling glass. Now, the convenience versus recovery. This is obviously a hot topic, and here's some data that we pulled together over the years for commingled recycling. So that's also known as single stream, where everything goes into one. About 40% of the glass is landfilled. Then 20% is downcycled. So that's the aggregates and abrasives, which it is a reuse, but maybe not quite as much as recycling. And so about 40% of the glass that goes into single stream is recycled, which is pretty staggering when over half of the glass is going to the landfill that everybody usually assumes is being recycled. Then there's a separated collection. So that's obviously a lot better, but it's the dual stream where you have your paper and cardboard collected separately, then plastics, metals, and glass in their own container. So only about 10% is gone to the landfill, but it could improve. And then with a source separated collection for glass, we have a 98% recovery rate right now for source separated, which is pretty amazing. And we're honestly teetering up towards the 99% mark. So we're consistently growing and trying to make it better. But source separated is the clear winner in this for getting glass recovered. Now, nobody wants my glass. We hear it all the time. I know a lot of you have probably asked that before. And there's a huge difference between clean glass and what we call MRF glass, or really just dirty glass. And it's no real fault of the MRF. It's just that when it comes in that single stream, it's hard to maintain value of this glass. And as you can see here, that is an actual picture of a glass pile that we took. I forgot where, but that is the glass pile they had from a single stream collection. So as you can see, you can't really tell where any glass is in the picture here. And the problem with that is there's so much contamination. A lot of end users that we send to wouldn't be able to accept a product like that. So that's the reason why a lot of folks aren't able to find an end user for this glass. And now with clean glass and the source separated material, this is clean bottles. It's just loaded directly in there. There's no other contamination. That's where the value is. So that's where we can come and help pick up the load of glass. And it's something that's worth something to the end user. And that's kind of what I really want to push today, is that source separated creates value for your glass. Therefore, you can get rid of it without just being forced to dump it in the landfill. I know there's a lot of numbers here on this chart. This is the Glass Recycling Coalition chart, but I'm going to focus on just a few points here. And as you can see, these top 2 boxes, this is for single stream carts biweekly. Now, what I want to point out here is a lot of folks will say, well, since everybody will recycle single stream and will throw their glass in there, I'm assuming that more glass will get recovered since everybody's just throwing it in single stream, and we'll get a better recovery rate just because more glass is going in. Well, as you can see here, there's a 42% recovery rate for single stream, which levels out to about 80 tons recovered. And then if you go down to the drop-off sites, which is the source separated collection, you have a 92% recovery rate on average. And then that leads to 96 tons being recovered. So there is more glass being recycled in the source separated collection than there would be in the single stream, if that makes sense. So I think that's a pretty interesting point I like to make, just because it kind of cuts out the myth that single stream will still recover more glass. Now the collection methods, and this is specific to ripple glass right now, but as you can see on these two pictures here, this one on the right is, I know it's a little bit fuzzy, but a green dumpster that we had glass recycling written on it. And then on the left here, you have our Go Purple glass recycling container. So these two had staggering differences for contamination, because as you can see on this right, it still kind of looks like a dumpster. And the way we've improved it is this looks like a glass recycling container on the left. And the point is that branding and that effort we put into marketing really helps reduce that contamination rate. And when a glass recycling bin looks like a dumpster, people are going to treat it like a dumpster. But if it looks like a glass recycling bin, people are going to treat it like a glass recycling bin. So it's kind of an important point I'd like to make. We're putting a little bit of extra effort into your drop-off sites, and a lot of people have questions about them being unmanned sites. These are little things you can do to not worry as much about the contamination when you have something that is pleasing to the eye, that looks valuable, that you know, okay, glass is the only thing that can go in here. You won't have to worry about having a manned facility or a spot to always keep an eye on it. Now, types of glass accepted. This is just, I want to go over some of the things, honestly, that we can't accept, because everything that we collect is usually glassware, any sort of food container or drink container. So, you know, your classic whiskey, wine bottles, beer bottles, pickle jars, mayonnaise jars, those are all acceptable, including lids and caps. That's a big question that a lot of folks ask. We're able to collect that all the same, as well as all the colors mixed. And that's been a big question as well. So amber, green, clear, you name it, all can go in the same bin. So you don't have to worry about separating colors. The big no's are laminated glass, which are windshields, and that's just indestructible glass. So it's a little bit difficult. But the one I really want to hit on right now is no bags or boxes. That's one that I even tell a lot of communities to put up a sign that's simple enough that says no bags, no boxes. I'll actually give an example. The city of Moberly, Missouri was having issues with a lot of trash bags full of glass. So people had the right intention, were throwing it in there. It was full of glass, but just all in bags. And they were asking what they should do. And I said, let's just put a no bag sign, a big old no bag sign under the lid. And you know, it seems too easy, right? Well, big old sign, and sure enough, there's no more bags they deal with. And I always joke and say, you know, teaching residents to recycle is like trying to teach kindergartners, you know, how to read and little things like that. So you have to make it look like a pretty little picture with right in front of their eyes before they dump it that they should not put the bag in there. And you have to make it as simple as humanly possible. And I know a lot of you have already probably experienced something like that. And this is something that I could actually share with you if you're interested in having a glass program. And this is pictures, like, again, what I just said about kind of like a children's book. The pictures help more than just the words. So we've created flyers like this, and that we could send to you, that you could plaster up on the side of your container or hand out as a flyer. We really like pushing our marketing, and we have a great design team and a marketing manager that can help with projects like this, because I get it, you know, it's sometimes hard to produce something. So if you have questions or want something similar to what you're seeing here, we can make that for you and send it over to you. Now, a little bit about our program and the idea of source separated collection. Right here, this is one of our roll-off containers like you saw in that previous picture. where it gets picked up from that drop-off site. So at the Price Chopper or Hy-Vee or Walmart, wherever you have it placed, you'll have a local hauler come bring it back to a bunker. And the bunker is really important because it can hold about 22 to 25 tons of glass. And that helps us afford the haul down to Oklahoma and back to Kansas City with no cost to you all. And that's the important part, because I know a lot of folks sometimes, if they want to divert their glass, it's going to cost them a lot of money. And we don't want that to happen. So if you have a bunker built, and I know the folks over at the DEQ can help with grant funding. I've talked with multiple members over there, and they have applications that are available for this. But if you build a bunker at your transfer station or recycling center, whatever you have, and have that glass loosely loaded in there, once there's a full truckload, so 22 to 25 tons, and you can tell after the first couple times, you would use a front end loader. I'm going to move over to the next slide. As you can see here, so like a front end loader, or really whatever you have available, and you would load out this end dump trailer with glass. And with the 22 to 25 tons, it helps us afford that haul. So that's really important for us. Now, I will throw out here an alternative real quick, because I know some folks don't have the space for a bunker or just the ability to store something like that. So we came up with loading Gaylords or even IBC totes. And I don't know if you all are familiar with those, but IBC totes are like Gaylords, but with the plastic box with the metal framing around it. If you cut the caps off those, load the glass in there, and add a rotator attachment to your forklift, you can see here, it'll port in the back of the truck as well. So it's something that works for you folks that maybe can't build a bunker. And really, the point of all this is if you can store 22 to 25 tons of glass all together, we're happy. However you can store it, go for it. We just need it loaded into the back of our truck. So if it's IBC totes, if it's Gaylords, or if it's a bunker, whatever works for you all, we're happy. We'll send a truck down there and you can load it out, and we'll be back up to Kansas City. So what happens next? The two outlets we use are Owens Corning, which is a fiberglass insulation company. They take our 3-mix cullet, and you can kind of see it here on the picture on the left of it pouring out of our plant. And they make fiberglass insulation. So the pink stuff you put in the walls that make energy efficient homes, which I think was pretty neat, where it comes full circle. And the second product that we make is we send down to Ardagh Group, which makes the bottles that actually Boulevard Brewing Company uses, which is funny because Boulevard is actually our original founder. We're independent of them right now, but they were our original founder as Ripple Glass. So I think that's a pretty neat thing. And let's see. Okay, so here's some of our incentives and our give back program.
Josh, is that Ardagh in Sapulpa?
Oh, that's right. Yes, I meant to mention that. I see it here. Yes, so Ardagh is in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. So that does come full circle for all of you residents in Oklahoma and everybody living there. It is produced in the state of Oklahoma. So that is a fun fact that I don't get to, that's why I didn't say it, is because I don't get to throw that out at every conference I do or lunch and learn. So yes, that is something that you Oklahomans can see here. So yes, it is produced in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. And yes, so our Go Purple program, our program of the year, and our annual incentive bonus. So these are 3 things that we do for our communities and partners that we work with. Our Go Purple program is a $1,500 donation that we would just make for you guys, to you guys, for painting your bin purple, that decal I was telling you about, all that purple colors. We would just give you that money to help produce these bins, because we get how important it is to divert stop that contamination and help just reduce it as much as possible. So we realize the importance of that, and that's why we're willing to offer something like that. And we do that once a quarter, so 4 times a year. And if you're interested in that at all, please reach out and I would put you on the list and we would get you set up. We also do program of the year. That's where we would donate. Actually, we're partnered with Owens Corning, so we would donate insulation most of the time for a project of yours that makes you and your company look good, because you'll get insulation for, Habitat for Humanity or something like that. And I know our previous winners for the program of the year have been really appreciative of that. And on their local newspaper, they'll talk about their insulation that they donated to some charity of whatever they picked. And then our annual incentive bonus, if we see in the first couple years of your program that you've increased the diversion, you're getting more glass recycled, we'll actually bump up a little bit of a rebate for you guys. So on that per ton basis, just for the effort you put in for the marketing and educating the public, we're just try to give back as much as we possibly can to help you all out and say thank you for the effort you all have put in. So this is the end of my presentation. I want you guys to take down my contact information, but we'll talk about it a little bit more later. I can go back to this slide, but I do want to save a lot of time for our Q&A, and I think I did a good job of that. So let's get started here. The whole purpose, this is kind of a change up that I've done for presentations I've done in the past, and I've noticed not a lot of folks have had time to ask questions. And if I do get a hold of somebody, they'll say something very specific to their community where they have storm drainage issues and they're not sure about storing glass outside or something else like that. And I want to be able to talk about it right now. So I have a few questions up here, and I'd love to get you all involved. And I know no one really wants to be the first one to ask the question or anything like that, but I promise I don't bite because, you know, I'm through the computer, so I'm not even in person. So you don't have to worry about that. But I'd love to just talk about this right now. And if you have any lingering questions or why you're not recycling glass, I'd love to talk about that with you all. So the floor is yours. You can ask in the chat or unmute yourself and we can get started.
Hey, Josh, this is Chris Knight. Do you have any recommendations? I mean, I can't speak to up here in your area in Kansas City area, but in Oklahoma, we have a lot of rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any recommendations how smaller communities in the rural areas could get a sustainable glass recycling program going?
So for the smaller towns is what you're saying, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's actually something we like to pride ourselves on a little bit, because some of the bigger corporations that focus on recycling will kind of hit home for the bigger cities. So the Oklahoma cities, the Kansas cities, the St. Louis's of the world. And we really like to provide an option for everybody, that's no matter how small. And one way we've seen a lot of success is a hub and spoke program. And the idea of that is having one centralized bunker, like I talked about earlier, and then a lot of the small towns around each other having one of those roll-off containers, those purple ones, and they'd have a local hauler there, bring that container back to the bunker located in that city that everybody has agreed on. A lot of counties will work together, for instance. They'll have 3 counties with a bunch of small towns that all have their own roll-off for each small town, and they'll bring it down to the bunker located right in the middle and collect the glass there. And so you'll knock out a bunch of towns between, let's say, 1,000 population to 5,000 population, and they can bring their glass there, and we'll be able to afford those hauls anyways, because you'll actually have a load of 22 to 25 tons because you have multiple communities working on it, and it won't be every 3 years, you know? So we've seen a lot of success there, and a small recycling center that may not have as much of a budget as a bigger city, but they can afford a container that they can bring to the bunker, if that makes sense. So that's how we've worked with these rural communities, trying to get an option for that. I'll start calling names. I'm not scared to.
So
Hey,
Josh, is that
Josh,
typically at the central location? Is that typically a county or one of the larger cities, or what do you see there for the hub and
So
spoke?
really, if I had anything to say with it, I'd say the most northern city that works is a little bit closer to Kansas City, you know? So if there's a region here, I want the city up top that's closer to Kansas City to be holding the bunker, because that makes our haul lane a little bit easier. But yes, you're right. Probably the biggest city out of that whole county will have the centralized bunker, just because they'll maybe have a little bit more room for a bunker and have a little bit better budget for the recycling center. And so you're right. The biggest town in that whole region will probably host the bunker, and then all those smaller ones will send in their roll-offs.
I have a question about how far you would go, because I know from current experience, I am at least, almost 7.5 to 8 hours from Kansas City. So what does that look like for Southern Oklahoma?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So I will say Southern Oklahoma is a little bit of a reach for us. And that's where we've kind of tried to push a larger hub and spoke program where someone like you, what community are you in, or what town do you live in?
Ardmore. It's our population is about almost 30,000, and we
Okay,
have a region, Southern Oklahoma reaching to Gainesville, to Duncan, Durant,
okay,
to almost Pauls Valley, that we could do that. But yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of like we're at the
Yes,
bottom
you
end.
are. And this is something that we've been actually discussing with our end users a little bit more, because they have requested more glass, and the glass recycling has gotten a little bit more popular, especially for these end users, and they're needing more of it. And so we've been trying to communicate with them that we can't reach some of these more southern communities, for instance, Ardmore, that is wanting to recycle glass, but we wouldn't be able to afford that haul. So we've been that's been the topic of conversation right now with us and the end user, is working out something with them for a long haul, like a 7+ hour haul. And we're actually very close to the end of we're making a deal with them. Now, obviously I can't say anything because I don't know what we've agreed to yet, but they do want us to start extending out further. So this is something I see in the very near future where we could start reaching out to Southern Oklahoma. But for the time being, what our goal has been is a hub and spoke kind of system where if a southern community could haul up north to the centralized bunker that's a little bit higher up, that we could afford that haul, that works out best for us. But I know that's not convenient for everybody, especially for a town of 30,000. You're probably going to just want your own bunker and have your own pickups there. So I completely get it. That's something that I will definitely be in touch with you about. Please shoot me an email. Actually, I'll put my information here again. Shoot me an email at some point, and I'd like to talk to you more about that.
Josh, I know the other communities in Southeast Oklahoma that have been talking about it. Pride and McAllister, Megan Waters, she's not on the call today, but
Okay.
they collect glass. I know that the city of Ada collects glass.
Okay.
I know that Jason Thomas is going to kill me, but the Choctaw Nation could collect glass. He put a question on chat, and he says, I work at the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma Recycling Center in Durant, Oklahoma. It's a wonderful facility, I have to tell you. I will say that for us, it's a safety aspect, as everything we do here is all hand sorted. Could you address that?
The safety concern for glass? Yeah, so that's the hand sorting. It does get difficult with the safety and liability issues. I've noticed that. That's why we like the source separated collection, where no one has to touch the glass or do anything with it. When you have these drop-off programs, people throw their glass in the container, you dump it in the bunker, and then you load it out in the truck. So no one has to dig through anything. I will say it depends. We work with Ottumwa, Iowa. Their system is hand picking as well. And I asked her, the lady that runs the recycling center there, and she says they don't really have any issues with picking. They provide these really nice gloves to the workers, so if their hand gets in it, that doesn't cut. But I don't know how expensive those are, but those are a liability issue. I don't really have an answer for that, other than our drop-off program eliminates any of the hand sorting. So if that is a possibility for you all, I would highly suggest it.
Okay, Jake Sherman asked, do you currently collect in the Tulsa area?
So we were looking at collecting in the Tulsa area. I actually had spoken and visited with Robert Pickens down there for the Mr. Murph. And unfortunately, again, with some of the Murph glass, when it comes in through single stream, it's a little bit too contaminated, and it's hard. And they've done a great job. It's the cleanest Murph glass we've seen in a while, but unfortunately for our end users and a lot of end users for glass, it's just not quite there yet. So we've been working on our optical sorting equipment, and they have as well, to hopefully work something out, but it's still in the works. There's been a lot of communication, but unfortunately we are not in Tulsa at the time.
The Metropolitan Environmental Trust, and I don't think they're on the phone call today, have recycling depots around the Tulsa area and collect glass. And I know that the one I go to, you would like that glass, Josh. It is pristine, but
Okay.
the customer drops it off and then the worker separates it into the bins. But if you look in the bins, it looks like a photo op for a marketing company. It is so clean. So people might check with Bobby Schultz with the Metropolitan Environmental Trust if they want to see how his workers handle the glass.
Yeah, write him down. I'd
And
like to talk to Bobby
I'll
Schultz as
shoot you
well.
his information, Josh.
Perfect. Yes, please do. Let's see. I'm going to go back to these questions. One that I've gotten multiple times, so I guess I'll answer it even though no one's asked it yet, is a lot of people are worried about their storm drainage issues that they'd have with keeping glass outside. And I did want to throw out, there is a very easy solution to this. And all you have to do is put a tin roof above your bunker, which I don't think is very expensive, but Kirksville, Missouri, for instance, and there's one more community out in Iowa that does this as well. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they just did 4 pillars on top of their bunker with a cheap tin roof, and that runs the rain off. So there you go. That fixes the problem. And I know it's something like that where you hear storm drainage liability issue and you think, oh, that's a nightmare. I'm just not even going to mess with it. But there are very simple solutions to something like that. So if you were concerned about some of the regulations and liabilities you'd have with that, that's a pretty easy fix right there. Anybody else?
I think it'd be
Hey, Josh.
interesting to see on the phone call how many people do collect glass and then how many people want to if it was a perfect world. I think that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
This is Chris Knight. We accept glass at our recycling center here in Stillwater, and we also do a curbside separate collection for glass.
Okay. I think someone was about to say something earlier too.
Yeah, Josh, this is Bob Hippert. Just curious on the collections that you get today into Ripple. Where does most of that material go? Is it majority go to OC with a small portion going to Sepulpa? Just curious.
Yeah, so the majority does go to OC for our 3 mixed cullet, and that's because they can take the mixed colors. They can take the clear, the green, and the amber all mixed together, and we have to have a certain structure with that. But just because more houses are being built than beer bottles are being made, that's how it works. But the majority of our amber glass does come down to RDOG Group. So a lot of the beer bottles that you're producing and all the amber bottles that are made, they do go back down to RDOG Group in Sepulpa.
Okay. I mean, is Ripple Entertaining doing anything more as far as color sorting to allow some of the container manufacturers more access to the glass that they're getting today?
Yeah, we actually have just a pretty solid partnership with RDOG Group. So they are getting all of our amber glass. That's just a deal that we've made over the years. So I haven't really thought about that anymore, but that is a good point. Honestly, we've put a lot of equipment in that helps us sort the colors itself. So it's not because we're not sorting color. We just put in very expensive equipment that does it for us. So that's how we're able to color sort it. We just don't have to do it. We don't have to make the residents do it. We have it. We do it ourselves.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is what you're seeing in the, just was speaking about the glass container market, what you're seeing really nationally is a much larger amount of flint glass or clear glass being produced. So, trying to get access to that, and make sure that, if there are ways to get more of the flint or clear back to the container manufacturers, because you're going to continue to see that with more foods, beverages. People are asking for more of that in glass with the drop off of in beer. We're just trying to figure out ways to grow that collection, and if there's opportunities to be able to color sort that and get that back to us, we want it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm speaking to our facility in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We currently are bringing glass all the way in from California because
Wow.
it's the only glass that we can get access to. So trying to figure out how to
Wow.
get furnace ready glass is extremely important for us, and
Okay.
seeing that there's 3 glass container manufacturing facilities in Oklahoma, there's a lot of demand. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, and that's kind of
something-
goes back to my point of there is such a high demand now with end users. The problem is glass isn't being recycled. And that's what we need to fix that problem first, because I've always said we look at a lot of end users down in Oklahoma. I mean, it is a hub for glass manufacturers. So once we can get those residents and everybody to start recycling that glass, and then we can have a process and cycle it back down. Unfortunately, we just don't even have enough glass to produce that where we could send out to multiple end users and still keep everybody happy, if that makes sense. So we'd love to increase that rate. And that's why when we talk to other end users about extending further down south, where we could get more glass and be able to send it to end users that are really wanting it. But I like that point.
Thanks,
Bob,
Josh.
who are you with again?
OI.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, I agree. I think we do need to, there's a high demand from end users, and we've seen it a lot more so in this past year too. So that's why we're really pushing for this growth as well.
Josh, if magically we were able to put in a processing facility in Oklahoma, where do you think it should be located based on where the glass is?
Honestly, Oklahoma, from what I see, it's in a lot of the eastern portion of the state, if I'm not mistaken. So I would say any of those communities kind of central to eastern Oklahoma, but really, when you look at end users, you just want to put it right by it. For instance, with us being located in Kansas City, we have Owens Corning that is located in Kansas City as well. So they're right in our backyard, and that really helped us out. So if that kind of gives you an idea, let's say, I don't even know, I'd name a city, but Oklahoma City, if that had a couple end users there, I would put it right in Oklahoma City.
I mean, just looking, if I can jump in, there were
Yeah.
2 facilities that were, that were actually beneficiators of glass. Some years ago, there was a facility in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, where there's actually, SMI, which is Strategic Materials, had a processing site there that's since been closed. There's also Delubac in Okmulgee that do some collections and glass recycling there. They're a supplier, to not only us, but our other glass container facilities in Oklahoma. So just so everyone's aware, there are some processing limited, within the state, but it is there today. There is some.
Yes.
Josh, I know you were asking about communities and who's recycling glass currently and who wants to be. And in the comments, Wes Davis with the Modoc Nation in Miami said that they are not currently recycling glass, but hope to in the near future. And I don't think Waste Management's on the call, but I live in Oklahoma City and have Waste Management is our contract for Oklahoma City. And so they are accepting glass. Last I heard, it wasn't necessarily going to a processor, but glass is still being accepted for Oklahoma City residents.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. Also want to say, hey, Wes, good to see you on here. I visit with Wes multiple times. Every time I'm passing through Miami, because he's on the northeast corner. So every time I'm in Oklahoma, I'm passing through Miami. Actually, something I did want to throw out about Oklahoma as well, that it's kind of fun fact, but I didn't realize how many casinos you all have down here and the amount of glass that is produced at these casinos. We actually just found that out last time I was in Miami. And that would just, I mean, that would feed a whole processing plant itself, just a few casinos over there. So that's something to keep in mind with maybe trying to get a commercial program started with casinos as well, because they produce as much glass as probably a whole city. So that's something as well. But anyways, what were you saying again, Sarah? Or that was
everything I had. I was just jumping in there on what I know from Oklahoma City and then what Wes had put in the comments. So
yeah. Well, hopefully we can help get Miami started as well. I know I'd been talking with them a little bit more, so we'll keep talking, Wes, and try to find the best solution for you all. And I agree. I think Southern Oklahoma, I would love to be an option for them as well. So we'll have to see.
There are several large casinos down in Southern Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You would have a captive audience, yeah. A captive glass beer bottle collection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of a processing plant as well. I've actually spoken with someone before, I think from Edmond, that was interested in having their own processing plant in Edmond, Oklahoma. Unfortunately, with just producing a processing plant, it's a very expensive investment. If I will say Ripple Glass had probably put a little over 20 million into our plant over the past decade. And for a commodity that, let's just say, doesn't make a lot of money. So it really, the history of Ripple Glass, the founders started this kind of out of the kindness of their heart, and they were environmentally friendly folks, and they were willing to take a loss here to get glass out of the landfill and have it recycled. And we've been trying to grow the company as well, and we have over the past decade, but it took about a decade to get that started. So when people mention starting a processing plant, I do want everybody to realize that it's no small feat, and it's not a big moneymaker right in the get-go. So you have to have a little bit of a safety net, to get this started. And that's why when Ripple kind of went through it and went through the struggle to get to where we are now, and that's why we try to offer an immediate option for folks that are wanting to recycle glass, just because I think a processing plant would be wonderful, but it does take quite a while to get developed and get started and get your feet on the ground. And we'd like to help that process for anybody who's wanting to get glass recycled right now,
Hey, Josh, this might be a bad word considering what we've talked about, but I know of at least one entity in Central Oklahoma that's crushing glass to reuse as aggregate for various purposes. I mean, where does that fit in the big picture? Where does that fit in terms of like economic and environmental difference between what you guys are, obviously if there's a easy way to recycle, that seems like the best purpose, but where does that fit in with what you guys are doing?
Look, I say that's better than it sitting in the landfill, right? So, I mean, if people are using it to make roads, I say if that's the best option you have right now, go for it. It's better than it just sitting, wasting away in the landfill. Obviously we take a little bit of pride in creating insulation that makes energy efficient homes, and we think it's a little bit better of a reuse. But again, making roads is still a reuse. And honestly, the economics with it, I'm not even sure, because we've never looked into it, what the prices are with that, and how much money you could possibly save and make through selling it to concrete companies. But again, I'll say we're starting, I set the bar low. If we can get it out of the landfill, I'm happy.
Thanks.
anybody else have anything they want to ask Josh? He's all ears. So if you're shy, you can tap your questions into the chat, or feel free to unmute and ask that burning question.
I do want to ask, I don't know where everybody's from in this group right now, but is the majority of glass going in the landfill, or are people trying to recycle it, or at least having it recycled, and it may go to landfill, may not? I'm just kind of curious how these communities are looking right now with glass recycling.
Hey, Josh, this is John Barton over here at CDR Global. I'm one of the coordinators of our internal recycling programs and kind of how our employees, I kind of help oversee their recycling and oversee the things that they're throw away or kind of introduce. How would you go about introducing a glass recycling program at a business?
So a commercial program.
Yes.
Really, the way so it's different for each business, because you have big corporate offices, or you have a bar and a restaurant, and anything else. So it's a different approach for everybody. I will say for a business, let's say like our commercial bar and restaurant program, we actually do a subscription fee. So it's like a normal trash pickup. And what a lot of folks don't realize is the majority of their bar and restaurant waste is glass, and their trash bill, let's say if it's based on, I don't know how many roll carts that they go through on a weekly basis or monthly basis, if they could cut that down and separate their glass out, and for their subscription to us, which whatever I'm not the commercial manager, so I don't deal with commercial numbers, but if they can save a couple pickups a month by their trash from their trash pickup to a glass pickup, it ends up saving them a lot of money. And they realize, oh, if I just stop putting all my glass in the trash, I'd save a lot of money on my trash bill at the end of the week. So that's kind of how we've been running our commercial program for the most part. And it's very similar to businesses that we run now for plate glass companies. So people that have glass waste for like a window manufacturer or some sort of construction glass, we usually have to do something, depending on the size, a little bit more regional size. So I know we just started working with Wickham Glass in Bel Air, Kansas, and they built their own bunker and have their own loader. And since they produce so much glass, they just throw their plate glass in the bunker and call me, twice a month. And we load out just like a normal regional program would, because they're producing that much glass. So it depends. You've got a small bar and restaurant that has a little roll cart and subscription with a normal trash pickup, or you have a full-fledged regional program, so it varies, but there's a lot of opportunity out there. I don't know if that really answered your question. I'm sorry, but
No, you're okay. I think I got the answer I was looking for.
okay.
For that subscription, would that include maybe small bins that I can put in or give to my departments to have them help with the employees and their recycling?
Absolutely. Yes, we do that. We have little, like when you go to the grocery store, a little handheld grocery basket. That's how we have a lot of residents do it that sign up for a residential pickup program. So absolutely.
Okay. Could I get your phone number?
Yeah, it's 573-777-0644.
I missed that last part. Would you repeat that?
0644.
Okay, thank you.
And
You bet.
Ripple Glass is a member of Okra, and we're getting ready. They're in the 2020 membership directory, John. We're getting ready to publish the 2021. And so you'll have everybody's name and contact information when that's put out.
Okay.
But thank you,
so
Ripple
much.
Glass, for being a member.
You got it. These are great questions. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, in the Tulsa area, which I know everybody's sick about hearing of Tulsa, we recycle glass. The city of Tulsa accepts it curbside, Broken Arrow, Jenks, Glenpool, and then the Met depots, there are all around the area. I think Robert Pickens recycles most of our glass at American Waste Control, or the Met collects it. And I think they send it down to Texas
Okay.
to be processed. But in Tulsa County, if you want to recycle glass, you can. If you don't have it curbside, if you don't want to go to a Met depot, American Waste Control has a bin on site that you can just drive up there and drop it off. So we are recycling glass in Tulsa. I would like to see it go to our Oklahoma manufacturers. Like to send some down to Muskogee.
Yeah. That's great. I think it's costing the MRF a little bit of money to send it down there. That's why I think we were looking at a partnership in the past, just because they'd be able to save more money, therefore put it more into marketing and help with diversion rates and contamination, all that good stuff. So that's why we're still working on this partnership, because it is, I'm sure, pretty expensive to haul it down to Texas. So that's why, but I'm glad that it is being recycled, and yeah, great job by Robert Pickens to bite the bullet on that one and send it down there, even if it isn't saving him money or making money. So I do want to give him kudos for that. Anybody else?
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like people have gone quiet, so you must have answered all of their questions that they have at this point, Josh. So if you'll throw your slide with your contact information up there one more time, and we've been recording this lunch and learn, so this will be posted to the Okra website shortly, as soon as we can make all that happen. But everybody, if you want to reach out to Josh, I know he's readily available and is happy to talk with anyone who is interested in recycling glass. So thanks again so much, Josh, for sharing your expertise and your time with us today.
Thank you for having me. No, this was great. I hope everybody enjoyed this Q&A portion of it as well and answered some questions. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to talk with you more. And this was a great discussion, and honestly great for me as well to kind of start turning some gears and thinking about how we can get involved in Southern Oklahoma and how we can help in other ways. So this was also great for me.
Perfect. I'm just going to do one more plug for anyone that's interested in being in the Okra Glass Working Group. Just send us an email at info@okrecycle.org. Recycleok.org. Sorry. Now I'm mixing it up. info@recycleok.org. Or if you know Chris Knight, you can reach out to Chris. And then anyone interested in helping us with these lunch and learns with some ideas, you can email us as well. So, Madam President, do you have anything you'd like to say on behalf of Okra?
I will just say thank you to Josh. This was a really great presentation, and I love the Q&A session. Thank you, Sarah, for putting everything together, and we had a great time. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yes, thanks everybody for taking time out of your lunch hour to listen to glass.
Yep. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right.
Hey,
Happy
Josh.
Earth Week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.